Hello and welcome to the SciFirst MovieTalk episode. So in this episode I'll be discussing the 2008 spoof movie and very aptly titled disaster movie, as directed by Jason Friedberg and Aaron Seltzer, which, like many of their other creations, shall we say, basically rips to shreds some of the franchises and films that were notable at the time of its release, homing in on those of, well, let's just say anything really goes in this one. You know, there's no kind of distinct genre, disaster or otherwise, for much of it. And here I am using the terms extremely loosely, humour and parody. So the film followed a slew of other movies, other movies of a similar style. Sort of parodies kind of popular at the time, and the duo of directors that are attached to this movie were quite prolific, kind of giving their fair share of a bunch of, let's say, misadventured comedies, from 2006's Date Movie to 2007's Epic Movie, 2008's Meet the Spartans, and indeed this lovely entry. I mean, they're not all mega bad, but I think most people would agree that they're a mixed bag, to say the least. Of their movies today, at the time of this review, I have only reviewed one other, and that being Epic Movie. And let's just say that both these movies feature quite highly as two of the worst movies ever made. And by comparison, however, with this movie, Epic Movie was a masterpiece. So before I even start, you can kind of get a flavour of where I am at with this one, you know? The main issue for me with this film is it has no plot, or a very thinly veiled one at that. At least their kind of other efforts took to kind of framing their hijinks around one specific overarching plot in general. This, however, is simply four would-be friends running around a few different buildings trying to evade the end of the world, or a tornado, or rabid chipmunks. Now, I really couldn't tell. It was poorly constructed, poorly acted, and dire, to say the least. It had more than its fair share of awkward moments and silences where I couldn't even tell if the cast was simply bored, forgot their lines, or were smell your fart acting. Friends reference for you there. But indeed, in the movie, we follow Will, as played by Matt Lanter, who has a premonition about the end of the world, brought to him by a saber-toothed version of Amy Winehouse, in a dream set in 10,001 BC, after fighting Wolf from Gladiators. Throw in a seriously overlong burp joke and you have yourself the beginning of this movie. Yep, you heard correctly. This is how the film starts. At this point, it really does take all of your might to just stay in your seat. So we then catch up with Will at his sweet 16. Given that he's in his mid-20s, there's nothing wrong with that then. And from here, we are just subjected to an onslaught of non-valid, non-cohesive, and non-relevant crass jokes taken off any number of films from the era in which this film was produced. It just moves from one tired trope to another, forcing them basically at us at a mile a minute. I mean, goodness knows how all this tied together into the end of the world. But following this, we somehow find our way into an abandoned warehouse, where we're faced with cheap versions of the characters from Sex and the City, followed then by a relentless pursuit by the aforementioned chipmunks. All this then accumulates with a showdown with Kung Fu Panda and a naked Beowulf to return to a crystal skull to its rightful place in the museum before the world is destroyed. So, I mean, you know, this time around, unlike Epic Movie, I did indeed find this one to be as bad as they say, you know? Just in case you haven't kind of got that vibe from me as yet so far. The thing is, this one literally has no direction, no framework to speak of. I mean, I usually enjoy movies like this. You know, I can see the funny side, don't get me wrong, you know? They are scraping the bottom of the barrel. They usually are, these movies. But they still tickle my funny bone, at least a little bit, you know? This, well, I mean, I don't even know. What did I actually watch? In the end, I think it kind of resulted in an absolute load of nonsense. there's simply just too much thrown at us in this movie for no reason whatsoever. I get that it's a parody of other movies. I mean, usually that is well up my street. But this was blatant and had no regard for the properties, people, cultures or preferences that it was portraying for its cheap and tacky laughs. It was simply one film pun after another, one disgusting joke followed by another. I mean, we even have a number of disgusting jokes about pregnancy. Indeed, we sink that low. And you know, and that's before we get to the final act, where they forcefully ram every tired gay joke they can at us. I mean, maybe it's my age, I don't know. Maybe it is time for me to just stop watching movies like this. But then I think, no, you know, I wasn't the only one. Both Leslie and Oliver, they were watching this with me. You know, they actually made me switch it off halfway through. They had enough. And that is saying something for Oliver, who loves a good fat joke or two, you know, for sure. You know, he simply stated that he didn't get any of the film, and I was therefore left to continue the film the night after to finish it for this review. What a treat. The film doesn't even have any characters that you can get behind. They are all as dull as dishwater. I mean, that's perhaps been a little bit unkind. I mean, Gary G. Thang Johnson, who plays Will's best friend, he does try to add a bit of atmosphere, you know, but it isn't propped by those around him, not at all. This isn't even Panto standard, you know. At least we might have had a few laughs in that event, you know. Look behind you, you know, no. But anyway, overall, as I said in the beginning, you know, this is a very aptly titled movie. A disaster in all senses of the word. Well, apart from not really having much to do with any kind of disaster at all. Unless you count the rabid chipmunks. It's hard to find the laugh in this barrel of tied and tried movie throwbacks that just aren't that funny, are way over the top and mostly downright disgusting or offensive, you know. They're even low by my standards, and which are pretty low to begin with, don't get me wrong. Like I said, I like a few of the movies that these guys have made. But when I watch a movie like this, you know, they're already low. I'm not expecting Great Expectations or War and Peace or something like that, you know. Star Wars, I'm not expecting that. I'm expecting something that is going to be, yes, take your brain out movie. You know, I know these kind of films rarely make much sense, but this was a whole other kind of dumb and nonsensical. It really was. It had little to no structure at all, just kind of wavering from one forced joke to another. So simply put, the only thing that makes this a movie is its runtime. So that brings me to the end of this episode. Many thanks for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please leave a like. Please do hit that subscribe button for more movie reviews, trailer reactions and other movie-related content. We've absolutely loved having you here at SciFirst MovieTalk and definitely love to have you back. But just most of all, thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.